What the rancher found hidden beneath that woman's blanket would make him question everything he thought he knew about right and wrong. And those 3 words she whispered, they saved 2 lives and changed his forever. Stay with me, because this story about secrets, survival, and redemption will hit you harder than you expect. The dust devil kicked up outside McGraw's general store just as the stranger rode in. Jake McGraw had seen plenty of drifters in 30 years, but this one made him pause. She was small, riding a horse too big for her frame, wearing a faded calico dress and a wide-brimmed hat that shadowed her face. But it was how she moved, careful, deliberate, like someone who knew one wrong step could be fatal. When she finally entered, the bell jingled cheerfully. Up close, she looked young, maybe at 25, with sun-darkened skin and cracked lips. "I need supplies," she whispered. "Enough for 2 weeks, whatever $40 can buy." Jake nodded. "You got it, miss." He was filling a sack with cornmeal when the door exploded open. 3 men burst in, Bull Crimson, a brutal ranch foreman, and the Stryker brothers, twins wanted for murder in Tucson. The smell of sweat and tobacco filled the small store. "Thought we lost you at the canyon, darling." Bull's voice was poisoned. His coat was already drawn. The woman spun, reaching for her poorly concealed gun, but Bull was faster. "You know better, Annie Carlisle," he grinned, showing tobacco-stained teeth. "There's a $1,000 bounty on your head, dead or alive." Jake's mind raced. Annie Carlisle, accused of murdering a rich rancher's son in Texas. "I didn't kill nobody that didn't deserve it," Annie said quietly, her voice steady despite the gun aimed at her heart. "That ain't what Judge Morrison says," Bull replied. "This is neutral ground," Jake spoke up, reaching for the shotgun under his counter. "No bounty hunting in my store." Bull swung his gun toward Jake. "Old man, you want your wife running this place alone?" "Wait," Annie raised her hands. "I'll go with you. Just let me get something from a saddlebag, a letter from my sister." Bull considered, then nodded. "One of you go with her." The younger Stryker brother followed Annie outside, his gun drawn but loose. Through the window, Jake watched him as Annie approached her horse, speaking softly to calm a nervous mare. Then she did something strange. As she reached for her saddlebag, she whispered to the Stryker brother, something that made him lean closer. She grabbed the rope securing her bedroll. "Tie it tighter," she said, loud enough for Jake to hear now. "The knot's coming loose." Jake saw the flash of a small knife in her sleeve, but Annie didn't strike. Instead, she genuinely showed the man the loose knot. "Please," she said, "I don't want my belongings falling out on the trail. Tie it tighter." The man bent to examine the rope. That's when Annie pulled aside the blanket. Even from the store, Jake saw the Stryker's face go white. He stumbled backward and shouted, "Bull, you gotta see this!" Bull stormed out, Jake following with his shotgun. What he saw stopped his heart. Nestled in the bedroll was a child, a little girl no more than 3, with dark curls and eyes that had seen too much fear. "This is why I asked him to tie it tighter," Annie's voice broke. "This is Sarah. Before you collect your blood money, you need to know the truth." Bull's gun wavered. "James Morrison, the judge's son, he raped Sarah Standingbear, a Mescalero woman who was my best friend. When she got pregnant and wouldn't give up the baby, he threatened to have her hanged for stealing. Sarah killed herself rather than let him take little Sarah. Her last wish was for me to save her daughter." And his hand shook as she stroked the child's hair. "I went to make James confess. He drew on me first. I was faster.
The judge knows the truth, but he'd rather see me hang than admit his son was a monster. If you take me in, this child goes to an orphanage or back to the judge who'll make her disappear. She's evidence." The silence was suffocating. Then Bull holstered his gun. "I've done bad things," he said slowly, "but I ain't harming a child. We didn't find her. Trail went cold. Agreed?" The Stryker brothers nodded, looking relieved. Bull turned to Annie. "But you can't keep running. Someone'll find you eventually." "I know. I just need to get Sarah to her grandmother in California." Jake stepped forward. "You'll need more than $40 and a map to safe routes." Martha appeared, nodding. "We'll help." Over the next hour, the strangest alliance formed. Bull and the brothers kept watch. Martha packed supplies while Jake wrote letters to friends along the California trail. Annie held little Sarah, tears streaming down her face. "Why help me?" she asked Bull. The big man stared at the horizon. "I had a sister once. Rich man's son got her in trouble too. Nobody believed her. She took her own life." His eyes hardened. "I didn't do right by my sister. Maybe I can do right by you." As the sun set, Annie prepared to leave, her bags full of supplies and letters, $50 extra in her boot. "When you get to California, send word," Bull said as she mounted up, Sarah secured in a sling Martha had made. "Let us know you're safe." Annie nodded, unable to speak. "That trick with the knot," Bull added, "making me see the child before hearing the story, that took guts. You made me see her as a person, not evidence." Annie managed to smile. "I figured if I was dying today, I'd die making someone see the truth. Turns out I found mercy." She rode into the dusk, little Sarah sleeping against her chest. "Think she'll make it?" Martha asked. "That woman survived worse," Jake said, watching Bull still staring at the empty horizon.
3 months later, a letter arrived. "Dear friends, we made it. Sarah's grandmother wept when she saw us. She's teaching little Sarah her mother's songs. I found work at a nearby ranch. The owner doesn't ask about the past. Judge Morrison died last month. Heart failure, they say. The warrant died with him. I'm free. I think about that day often, how tighter changed everything. I was asking him to secure a knot, but really asking him to look closer, to see what he'd destroy. Sometimes small actions reveal big truths. Thank you for choosing mercy over law. Annie and Sarah." Jake placed the letter in his Bible, where he kept what mattered most. Bull never collected another bounty. He became a deputy in New Mexico, known for fairness and compassion. The Stryker brothers found honest ranch work, and Jake's store became a safe haven for those running from injustice. Years later, when asked about that day, Jake always said, "Sometimes justice and law aren't the same." Those 3 words, tighter, made us see what we were really doing, who we'd hurt. That kind of truth is hard to ignore. He'd pause, eyes distant. The measure of a person is how they treat those who can't fight back. That little girl couldn't fight back. Once we saw her, there was only one choice. Now you know why she whispered those words. Annie wasn't just securing her belongings, she was forcing a moment of truth that would save 2 lives and change many more. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is make people see the truth, even when it might kill you. The next time you hear about someone running from the law, remember Annie. Remember that justice and legality aren't always the same,
And remember that sometimes the difference between tragedy and redemption is just 3 words away. What would you have done in that store?